Hello everyone, Lonnie Payne back with a pinball video for you. Been working on the Apollo 13 playfield, and this part will continue working and mainly dealing with insert problems with the ghosting and lifted artwork. So we'll cover that this time. I like to keep these videos around 12 to 15 minutes, so in the next part I'll finish up with the inserts and then the final stages before the first clear. But if you're ready, let's get going.
Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games.
Alright, so got the playfield ready to start working on these inserts, and the joys of pinball restoration. Sometimes you look at it, you think you got the condition, then you look a little closer and there's a few other problems that you didn't see that just makes it a little bit more complicated. And on this machine I already talked about how I got to try and fix the ghosted inserts, and if I can't get them fixed using clear coat, then I'm going to have to cut them out and redo them. Well, on an artwork playfield like this, you've got inserts like this spaceship here, and that's artwork. And so it's not just easy to cut it out and, cut vinyl and replace it. And this particular insert, I'm going to try and get a good view of the side. You see that little bubble right there? If you look at it, as I press it, you can see it change. So that insert right there is actually, it's kind of the same thing as ghosting. You just don't see it. So I've got to try and get that fixed, because I can't just simply cut that off and, make it a vinyl insert, because it doesn't work like that when you have art colored inserts. So it just adds a little bit of complexity to it. So anyways, we'll get at it. This is the what I normally keep this on to finish my playfield restoration, but since I'm going to do some clamping, I'm going to have to put it back on the rotisserie. So we'll do that and then we'll get started. Alright, got it on the rotisserie. And part of me just wants to take these inserts and cut them off and put new ones on, but I'm going to try and save it. So I'm at least going to do one and see how it goes, because this is a new technique. I've actually cut out graphics and replaced inserts several times, and it's a really nice finished product. But I'm going to try and save these. I've never done them before, so I want to at least give it a shot, and we'll see how it goes. But kind of getting some reflection off some of these inserts with that light, and you can really see the change in the inserts. And that one, like I said, you can kind of really see that one bubbling as I run my finger, finger across. You can see it kind of change. But anyways, with this method, you're kind of limited by how you can get under the playfield. So I've only got 3 clamps, and this one only works for like 2 different inserts. So I can only do 2 of these at a time. So if I do this process, it's going to take a while. But I'm going to do one first, and then see how it turns out, and then make my decision about what I want to do with the rest of the playfield. So, okay, I think I'm going to do this food one first. It's one of the worst, and I figure, well, there's no real reason to fix small ones if I can't fix a big one. So, go big, go home. So I'm going to start with this one. And what my plan is, I'm going to take a little X-Acto knife. I'm going to slice in the middle of this black area here to get access to under that insert. And then I'm going to mix up, this is my standard clear coat that I use, and this is the hardener. Now this is actually a spot version of the clear coat, so it's made for smaller jobs, but it's the same brand and stuff. And then I'm going to use this needle to try and inject it under the insert there. Look at you weird when you go to Walgreens asking for if you can buy a hypodermic needle. That was a whole nother story. And then I'm going to put a little piece of Lexan, because it's perfectly flat, brand new piece. Sit it on top, actually under the, put some wax paper down, and then put this on top and then clamp it, and then we'll let it sit for a day. Come back, take the clamp off, and see what it looks like. So, all right, I don't know if you can see that or not, but I tried to cut it in the middle of the black, and the gap doesn't go quite that far. Maybe just a little bit outside the plastic. So I moved in to right on the edge of the black line, and I don't know if you can see. It moves, and I get in the right spot here. I actually get my needle under it. So that's under the insert. Now it's cracked. It's, you know, started to crack a little bit. And so this may not work anyways, but you know, we're going to try it. I mean, I can always take it off. So it's not like I'm going to be damaging anything or irreversibly have, you know, causing a problem. You know, see what happens when I try. This needle's probably just too big. I didn't know what size to ask for. So I don't know. This may not work. Oop, look at there. Chipped it off. I guess that answers my question. I think I'm just going to cut them all out. But this one right here, I have to fix. But it actually seems fairly flexible. So I think on all the regular inserts, just going to cut them out. Just goes to show you that even on these videos, not everything goes the way we think it's going to go. Sometimes you have to pivot, go to plan B. But this stuff is so fragile over the inserts, and I can reproduce all the graphics, you know, so I really think I'm just going to cut all the inserts out that have the damage on them and just start over fresh. I'll know what I've got, and then I will have to fix these. So I may pivot and try and see what I can do with one of these right now, and we'll go from there. But we'll actually finish this food one. I'll cut this out, and we'll take that off, and when I put the inserts in, it'll have a new black ring, everything. So even the little scratches that I caused right there, I'll be beautiful when I'm done with it. It's kind of funny, as I'm actually hitting the pressure on the insert, the parts that weren't ghosted are ghosting a little bit. So I mean, there's nothing holding this. So you can see that corner ghosting as I'm cutting it. You know, there was nothing. That whole thing was just not adhered. And like I said, more than likely it was caused when somebody pulled the mylar off, and they just pulled it up and, you know, weren't using any precautions, and you know, the clear just did not adhere to the plastic as well as it did the wood, so it just started coming up and creating those ghosting marks. And then when it gets to people like me, I got to fix that. Can't be looking at it. When you're going for a, you know, an all-out restoration, you got to make these changes. And so you either have, you know, two choices. You can either buy a new playfield if they're available, or you got to fix it. And there's a bunch of different methods to do that. Food. But I'll go ahead and I'll keep working on this. I'll trim it up a little bit. And like I said, these little edges you see on the edge of this black, everything from the outer black outline will be new. So I mean, anything I damage on this black will be completely covered up. We'll clear this, sand it, get it all level, put a new insert on there, and after we clear it again, I mean, it'll look perfect. So I'll keep working on that. We'll get that insert touched up, and then we'll move on to something else. All right, got the insert all cleaned off, and it kind of looks messy, but what you got to remember is that'll be covered up. So what I've also done is I took a little piece of 600 grit sandpaper and I sanded the insert, sanded all the edges where all the residue was, and got it all cleaned up. And then when you're working on these things, one of the things you can do is there's a product I think I talked about earlier called naphtha. And when you put this stuff on your playfield and it's wet, it basically looks exactly like what it'll look like when it's cleared. So if you're doing some paint touch-up, you know, and it looks good, you wipe it with this, and that'll show you what the true look will be after you get clear on it. So I'm going to show you that this insert, not sure if you can kind of see, but the edges is a little, you know, you see the little sand mark stuff, but when that thing gets, you know, wet, it's all nice and glossy. And it'll look, looks great. All that stuff goes away because, it's a little cool little trick to kind of just make sure what you're looking at, what it's going to look like before you clear it, so there's no surprises. So what I'll do is I'll end up doing this for all the inserts. I'm not going to show you every insert, but if I get to something specific, I'll cover that on an insert that may be different, like these moon inserts might be a challenge. But I'm going to move now, and I'm going to try and see what I can do to fix this insert now, so this should be interesting. Okay, for this one, I'm gonna try and get access to it. You can see this little white line right there. That's the edge of the insert. Not this painted line, but this line right there. So that's where I'm gonna try and gain access. And then we'll use a little black paint to kind of seal that off once hopefully everything gets put back together. Well, sometimes you get a break. The seam I just told you about, when I got ready to see what I could do with it, I realized it's already up. So I don't even have to slice it. So hope you can see this. See, I can tell I'm pulling that paint right off. So what we're going to do is we're going to inject some clear in there and then clamp it and hopefully get this thing stuck back down, because it would be a nightmare to try and lose this insert and have to figure that out. So got lucky on that one, and we'll see if we can get it down. Then we'll still touch up this edge the best we can. All right, I want to apologize to you. I had got everything ready to do with this insert, and I hit record on my camera and the battery died. I had already mixed up the clear, so I wasn't going to stop just to charge the camera. I just decided to go ahead and do it. It was simple as injecting the clear under there like I kind of showed you I was going to do, and then clamping it. So you didn't really miss anything. I didn't actually get it on tape. So we'll leave this for tomorrow. We'll pull it off and see what it looks like. And another thing I did, this insert is where the timer counts down, and I never really liked it because it was kind of a milky insert, and it faded out or blurred the countdown. And so I cut that out because it was damaged anyway. So no matter what I was going to do, I had to cut that out. And I decided to sand it down because it was kind of a clear looking insert. It just was really scratched up. And so you can tell I actually got it clear. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, it kind of, when you look at it from a player's standpoint, it kind of looks like a scoop. It has the wood edges, so I'm going to see what it looks like all together. Once I get it, I'll put an insert ring around it so it'll really clean it up when it's finished. And then if I don't like the way the wood looks, I'll either paint it or maybe put some kind of buffer on there so you can't see the other end, parts of the game. I don't know. I'm just experimenting, so we'll see how it works. All right, this has been on here today, so we're going to take it off and see what it looks like. All right, so the wax paper keeps everything from sticking. Overall, pretty good. Looks pretty flat. Then I'll try and clean this, do a little light sanding, clean this. Some of the clear came out and was under the wax paper, so we'll just try and get that cleaned off before we clear. And should be good to go. I think that's going to work. Looks good, nice, flat, beautiful. Okay, got this insert all cleaned up and sanded. There was a little bit of clear around the edges. And you can see by the kind of the reflection in the light, got all that clear off the surface. So now it's all nice and even. And the way I did that was I just did a little wet sanding, got a little 400 grit sandpaper, and I just put a little bit of water on it and just work it around. And then I would keep drying it and looking in that reflection to see that if I could see any clear remaining. And just slowly, this is one of those things you don't want to rush because you don't want to get into the clear that's on the underneath, you know, too much, and you don't want to start taking off paint anywhere. So let that dry up so that cloudiness comes back. You can see, and of course that all goes away when you clear coat. So just the first time you do it, it kind of freaks you out. You're like, what have I done to my playfield? This looks like crap. But you know, that little nap that I showed you about. So once you're, you know, working on something, I want to see what this is going to look like when it cleared. You put that on there and look, it looks, you can't even tell where it's at. It's going to be a beautiful clear job, and you won't even know we did anything. And so that's what the cool thing about that napkin is. It just really kind of keeps you seeing what it's going to look like. This stuff dries fairly quickly. And boom, it's all back to looking bad again. But gives you that temporary look. Make sure you're doing the right thing, matching colors, you know, not messing up anything. So got that done. Now just going to continue with the inserts. I'll cover the moon one here in a second, and we'll just keep working. Well, that's it for this part. Hope you enjoyed it. The next one, we'll continue to work on the play field, finishing up the inserts, and then we'll do some final artwork fixes before we do the first layer clear. Remember, hit like, subscribe, share. We'll talk to you on the next one.